So I have been reading this fascinating book called The Upside of Your Dark Side. Two pioneering researchers in the field of psychology show that while mindfulness, kindness, and positivity can take us far, they cannot take us all the way. In fact, Todd Kashdan and Robert Steiner argue that psychological health means wholeness rather than happiness, and the two highlight the essential role played by our negative emotions. I think this book is great because I've been very vocal about how I'm fed up with the happiness hype in popular psychology, and you know that I love confirmation bias backed by science. So here we go. 3 science-backed reasons that trying to be happy is actually fucking up your life and making you stupid. 1. Happy people are less persuasive. So according to Kashdan and Steiner, happy people tend to focus on the bigger picture at the expense of tiny details. As a result, their arguments are less nuanced and concrete. In fact, your happiness can interfere with your performance and accuracy. Several studies were performed asking happy and unhappy people to create arguments about issues from the allocation of tax dollars,
community, everyone benefits,
to the existence of soulmates.
And then what? Your soulmate dies and then you're alone forever and then you just have to die alone? Really, is that fair?
And in all of the studies, unhappy people's reasoning was judged as 25% more convincing than the happy participants. So my grumpy attitude not only gives me a stellar sense of humor, but I can convince everyone else to be grumpy as well. 2. Happy people are more easily deceived and likely to recall false facts. So in one study, participants were asked to identify who was a liar and who was honest in a series of videotapes. The tapes showed people denying that they had stolen something, and about half of them were telling the truth. Happy people identified liars only 49% of the time, whereas unhappy people detected 62% of the frauds. So if not being able to have a stronger bullshit detector is a good enough reason for you, also consider that in other experiments, people had to recall facts or words that they'd been presented with before. The happiest among these people were the most prone to recall items they'd never even been shown. So far, happy people are less persuasive and more gullible. I now understand why the best lawyers are miserable. And finally, people who focus on achieving happiness often get less joy out of pleasurable experiences that are supposed to create happiness. In one experiment, people were divided into different groups prior to listening to Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. One group was asked to rate their happiness level while listening and to try to willfully increase their pleasure from listening and estimate how well that worked. The other group was told just to listen. Who ended up being happier? Those who only listened, enjoying Rite of Spring 7.5 times as much as those who were instructed to try to be happy and to evaluate their happiness. So striving to be happy can make you unhappy. And the researchers argue that this pursuit of happiness over all else is inherently self-centered, and that this focus on your own happiness could actually distract you from other people's needs, thus diminishing your relationships. So for instance, you might constantly avoid a friend who is troubled because you really don't want their negative vibes to affect you. But this friend will eventually see your avoidance as a lack of attunement, and the longer that this continues, the more likely that friendship will end. Plus, mind-blowing fact, research indicates people who value the pursuit of happiness actually feel lonelier than other people. And paradoxically, relationships are the highest factors for happiness. Friendships, romance, family, these are the sources of our happiness. But happiness consciousness often puts valuing happiness itself over relationships. Thus, they're lonely. So there you have it, 3 reasons to be justified in your grumpy ways and to view your unhappiness not as some kind of defect, but a necessary discernment to be a more persuasive, less gullible, more present, and more attuned human being. I'm supremely unhappy, and thank you to the Patreons who supported today's video, and thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode. BetterHelp's mission is to provide anyone facing life's challenges with easy, discreet, professional, convenient, and affordable access to professional counseling from a licensed therapist. So you fill out a brief questionnaire about your history and what you'd like to work on, and then you are matched with a therapist. All 11,000 plus counselors on BetterHelp, with no exceptions, are licensed, trained, experienced, and accredited psychologists, marriage and family therapists, clinical social workers, or licensed professional counselors. Scheduling is super easy and flexible, and you pay one low flat fee for unlimited messaging and 1 weekly session, which is great because, traditionally therapists can run $150 to $200 per session. You can go to betterhelp.com/Akana to sign up today and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Akana.